The wrong number. 12:47 am. Sarah's hands trembled as she stared at her phone, the blue glow illuminating the tears streaming down her cheeks. Her daughter, Emma, was crying in the crib beside her, that hungry, desperate cry that every parent dreads. The formula container sat empty on the counter, mocking her. She had exactly $3.42 in her bank account. Payday wasn't until Friday, 3 days away. She'd already called her mother, her sister, even her ex-boyfriend. No one was answering at this hour. In desperation, she scrolled through her contacts, looking for anyone who might help. Her thumb hovered over a number saved as Mark Warehouse. They'd worked together at the distribution center before she'd been laid off. He'd always been kind, slipping her extra hours when he could. With shaking fingers, she typed, "Mark, I'm so sorry to text this late. Emma's out of formula and I don't get paid until Friday. Could you possibly lend me $25? I'll pay you back the second my check clears. I'm desperate." She hit send before she could second-guess herself. Emma's cries intensified. 20 miles across the city, Marcus Chen sat in his corner office on the 42nd floor, reviewing quarterly reports. At 43, he'd built Titan Tech from a garage startup into a billion-dollar empire. But tonight, success felt hollow. It was his daughter's birthday, would have been her birthday. Lily would have turned 7, 3 years since the accident, and some nights still felt impossible. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something made him open the message. He read it once, twice. This wasn't meant for him. His first instinct was to text back, explain the mistake. But something in those words, "I'm desperate," stopped him. He'd spent the day in meetings discussing million-dollar deals, and somewhere in his city, a mother was begging a stranger for $25 to feed her baby. Marcus stood, walked to his window overlooking the glittering cityscape, and made a decision. He typed back, "What's your address?" Sarah's phone lit up immediately. She frowned. Mark had never responded that fast to anything. "What's your address?" Relief flooded through her. "24 Oakmont Ave, Apt 3B. Thank you so much. Mark, you're a lifesaver." She waited, rocking Emma, humming tunelessly. 20 minutes later, her phone buzzed again. "I'm outside." That was fast. Mark must have lived closer than she thought. Sarah wrapped Emma in a blanket and hurried downstairs, grateful beyond words. But when she pushed through the building's entrance, she froze. A black Mercedes sat at the curb. A man in an expensive overcoat stepped out, definitely not Mark from the warehouse. "Sarah?" he asked gently. Who are you? Where's Mark?" "I think there's been a misunderstanding," Marcus said, holding up his phone. "You texted the wrong number, but I'm here anyway." Sarah's face flushed crimson. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to bother you. Please, just forget." "When's the last time you ate?" Marcus interrupted. The question caught her off guard. What?" "You. When did you last eat a real meal?" Sarah looked away. "I'm fine. Emma needs—" "Come on," Marcus said, opening the back door of his car. "There's an all-night supermarket 10 minutes away. Let's get some formula and some real food for you." "I can't accept—" "You're not accepting. I'm offering. There's a difference." His voice was kind but firm. "I have a daughter too, had." He paused, something flickering across his face. "Please let me help." In the bright aisles of the 24-hour grocery store, Sarah felt like she'd stepped into a surreal dream. This stranger, this clearly wealthy stranger, was pushing a cart, telling her to pick out whatever she needed. "Just formula," she insisted. "And food," Marcus countered, already loading bread, peanut butter, pasta, eggs into the cart. "I can't." "You have to eat to take care of her," he said simply, nodding at Emma, who had finally quieted in Sarah's arms, fascinated by the store's bright lights. "My daughter Lily, my ex-wife and I, we didn't always see eye to eye, but one thing we agreed on, you can't pour from an empty cup." Sarah noticed he used past tense when talking about his daughter, but was too polite to ask. At the checkout, the total came to $247.89. Marcus didn't blink, just handed over his card. "I'll pay you back," Sarah said, her voice breaking. "Every penny." I don't know how long it'll take, but there's nothing to pay back, Marcus said. But I have a question. What happened? Why are you in this situation? As they loaded groceries into his car, the story spilled out. The layoff from the warehouse, the mediocre unemployment checks, her ex who disappeared when she got pregnant, the job applications that went nowhere because nobody wanted to hire someone with a 3-month-old baby, the childcare costs that made working almost pointless anyway. I had a job interview today, actually, she said softly. Executive assistant position. It went really well. They said they'd call by next week. If I get it, everything changes. I just needed to make it until then. Where was the interview? Some tech company downtown. Titan Tech. I researched them. They have on-site childcare, good benefits. It seemed too good to be true. Marcus stopped loading groceries. Slowly, he turned to face her. Titan Tech? Yeah, why? He pulled out his wallet, extracted a business card and handed it to her. Sarah read it by the streetlight. Marcus Chen, CEO and founder, Titan Tech Solutions. Oh my God. The card slipped from her fingers. I texted. I asked you for... Humiliation washed over her in waves. The interview. You probably think I planned this, that I... Sarah. His voice was gentle but commanding. Look at me. She forced herself to meet his eyes. I reviewed your application myself, Marcus said. Your resume was impressive. 3 years of administrative experience, recommendations from 2 former supervisors, calling you the most reliable person they'd ever worked with. We weren't just considering you. You were our top candidate. Was? The word came out as a whisper. No, our top candidate. He smiled, the first real smile she'd seen from him all night. That hasn't changed. But now I know something else about you. I know you're the kind of person who, even in the worst moment of your life, says, I'll pay you back. Who apologizes for asking for help. Who puts her child first, even when she's clearly starving herself. I didn't do anything special, Sarah said. Any mother would... Not everyone, Marcus said quietly. 3 years ago, my ex-wife was driving drunk with our daughter in the car. She'd been drinking all afternoon. I was in Tokyo on business. By the time I got the call, he stopped, cleared his throat. Lily was 7. She loved butterflies and terrible jokes and macaroni and cheese. Marcus, I'm so... The hardest part wasn't losing her, he continued, staring at something Sarah couldn't see. It was knowing I wasn't there. That I'd chosen a business meeting over my daughter's birthday dinner. That I'd spent years building an empire and missing bedtimes and school plays. He looked at Emma, sleeping peacefully in Sarah's arms. You asked a stranger for help at midnight rather than let your daughter go hungry. That's not nothing. That's everything. They stood in the parking lot. 2 strangers connected by a wrong number and shared grief. As the city hummed around them. The job is yours if you want it, Marcus said as he drove them back to her apartment. Salary is $62,000 to start. Full benefits including the child care you mentioned. But I need to know something. If you could do anything, if money wasn't an issue, what would you do? Sarah laughed bitterly. That's a fairy tale question. Humor me. She was quiet for a long moment. I wanted to be a social worker. Before Emma, I was taking night classes. I wanted to help families, especially mothers in crisis. I grew up in foster care, bounced around until I aged out at 18. I know what it's like to feel invisible, like nobody cares if you make it or not. She shook her head. But that's a 4-year degree I can't afford, and bills I can't pay, so... Marcus nodded slowly, thoughtfully. Take the job, he said finally. Start Monday. But I'm also setting up something else. Titan Tech has a continuing education program. We pay for employees to finish their degrees if they commit to staying with the company for 2 years after graduation. It's a program I started after Lily. I wanted the company to mean something, to help people build real lives, not just careers. Sarah couldn't speak. Tears ran freely down her face. Why? She finally managed. Why are you doing this? You don't even know me. Marcus pulled up in front of her building. He turned to face her, and in his eyes, Sarah saw a depth of sadness and hope intertwined. Because someone needed help, and I could give it. Because I spent years believing success meant bigger offices and larger bank accounts, and I missed what actually mattered. Because maybe, if I help you build the life you want, I can find some meaning in all of this. He glanced at Emma. And because every child deserves a parent who fights for them the way you fight for her. 6 months later, Sarah stood in the lobby of Titan Tech waiting for Marcus. She was heading to her social work class after work, the one the company was paying for, and wanted to thank him. But again, she'd thanked him approximately 1,000 times already, but it never felt like enough. Emma was in the on-site childcare, thriving. Sarah had a real paycheck, an apartment that didn't have mold in the bathroom, and hope for a future she'd thought was impossible. Marcus emerged from the elevator, surprised to see her. "Everything okay?" "Perfect, actually. I just wanted to say—" She paused, searching for words. "That night, when I texted you by mistake, it wasn't a mistake, was it?" "Not really." "What do you mean?" "I mean, maybe the universe or God or random chance knew I needed help. Knew I'd been too proud to ask for it from anyone who might actually be able to give it. So it sent me to someone who understood, who'd lost enough to know that helping matters." Marcus smiled, a real smile, the kind that reached his eyes. "Maybe, or maybe we both needed that night. You needed help, and I needed to remember why any of this." He gestured around the gleaming lobby. "Actually matters." They stood together in comfortable silence. "I'm starting a non-profit," Sarah said suddenly. "With my first big paycheck, I'm setting aside money for mothers in crisis. Just small emergency grants, 25, 50, 100, for formula, diapers, whatever they need to make it through the night. No questions, no judgment, just help." "What are you calling it?" Sarah smiled. "The Wrong Number Foundation. Because sometimes the wrong number is exactly the right one." That night, as Sarah gave Emma her bottle in their warm, safe apartment, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "I'd like to contribute to your foundation. I think Lily would have liked that, M." Sarah smiled through tears and typed back, "Thank you for everything." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then one final message. "Thank you for reminding me that wealth isn't what you have. It's what you give." Sarah looked at her daughter, healthy and fed and loved, and thought about the terrified woman she'd been 6 months ago, desperately texting a wrong number at midnight. Sometimes miracles came disguised as mistakes. Sometimes strangers became saviors. And sometimes the worst night of your life became the first step toward everything you'd ever dreamed of. All because someone answered a text they could have ignored. All because kindness, when it mattered most, changed everything.